What's going on YouTube? So while it's tempting to believe that everybody is buying crossovers these days, Toyota has not forgotten about sedans, or performance sedans for that matter. Now this of course is the all-new 2020 Camry TRD. And up until this point, we actually haven't been able to sample one since they sell so quickly at our local dealerships. But that's all changing this week since Toyota has sent us this model to sample for the entire week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the review and see if Camry and performance can be used in the same sentence. Now before you ever get behind the wheel, what you're going to notice about this TRD Camry is just how much more aggressive it looks from the other trim levels. So what makes it aggressive here in the front is going to be this really big lower body kit. This of course goes all around the vehicle, but as you can see it sticks out quite a bit and it does lower the look of the vehicle, really gives it an aggressive design. Now as far as the rest of it, there's not a huge difference from the other trim levels of the Camry. Most of the equipment on the outside is going to be like the SE trim level, but the grille is actually finished in the metallic black to match with this lower splitter, and that's kind of like the XSE trim level. As far as your headlights, these are going to be, like I said, like the SE trim level, so they are full LED, but they don't have the fancier design which has the LED turn signal and daytime running light. So over here at the wheels is another good place to point out a lot of changes for the TRD model. Now the most obvious is going to be these exclusive 19-inch matte finish TRD wheels. Really have an awesome look, definitely draw a lot of attention, and they are wrapped in thin profile summer tread. You can get optional all seasons if you want, but the standard tread is going to be summer tread, so you definitely have a performance tire on this model. You will also notice you have red brake calipers, and those are 12.9-inch vented discs, so that's the largest in the entire Camry lineup. And then jumping up here to your mirrors, like I said, since your equipment really is close to the SE trim level, you're actually not going to have heating. You're not going to have available blind spot monitoring either, which is a little disappointing. However, Toyota is rectifying that with the refreshed 2021 model that's coming next year, since that will have standard blind spot monitoring for the TRD trim level. Now the TRD special styling doesn't stop at just the front end. It does continue to the side and of course to the rear. So I do want to point out a few different things. The TRD is going to have black mirrors as well as the black contrast roof. That's going to be standard equipment, and it is available in 4 different exterior colors. You have this really nice red color as well as a black, a silver, and a white option. Here at the side we do still have that nice lower body kit which swoops all the way into the rear. And then as far as the rear itself, this is probably the most stylish and kind of shocking area to have a Camry look like this. And that's mostly due to this big wing spoiler up top. This is standard on the TRD. It's going to be black across any of the paint colors. And honestly, over the course of the week that we've had this vehicle, we've had people stop us. We've had people just want to talk about how cool this looks. And I think a lot of that has to do with this big, nice spoiler up top. Now, dropping down to the actual feature set, these are going to be the Ses Tail Lights, so we do have an LED brake light. The rest is going to be incandescent. We have TRD branding right here, and then more of that nice, really sporty diffuser down here. But the bigger thing that you're going to notice down here is the standard catback exhaust, and it has a really, really nice sound to it, so I'll go ahead and let you listen to it. Now, even though this Camry doesn't have blind spot monitoring, it still does have Toyota's Safety Sense suite, which does throw in all of your advanced safety systems, including adaptive cruise control. Now, we have tested that adaptive cruise out pretty extensively this week, and it is a very good adaptive cruise system. It is also worth noting that if you wait for the 2021 TRD, that's going to throw in Toyota's advanced 2.5 Safety Sense suite.
Well, you could say this might be the sexiest Camry ever made on the exterior. So now let's go ahead and hop on the inside, see what special TRD touches are in there before we take it out in a spin.
So even though the TRD is mostly similar to the SE in terms of interior equipment, you will find Toyota Smart Entry System standard on the TRD. That does mean to get inside the vehicle, all you have to do is just grab behind the handle and it will unlock. And taking a first peek inside the cabin of this TRD. As you can see, there's pretty substantial enhancements to the overall design that really go well with the exterior. Now what you're looking at is actually the only way you can equip the interior of this TRD Camry with black soft text leather seating, and you have all of these special red accents with the TRD model. Now turning over here to your door trim, this is the same as pretty much any Camry. So you'll have a soft touch material here on the armrest, and the rest of it will be hard touch. As far as your windows, those are going to be one touch automatic up and down for all four. And then looking at the seats, these are 8-way power adjusting seats with 2-way lumbar support. Now there are a lot of special TRD enhancements. We can see a lot of them right from this angle. So I'll go ahead and point out one. That's going to be your special TRD floor mats. Really nice look. I love the way these look with the red accents around them in TRD. You also have the aluminum pedals. Like I already mentioned, we have red accenting on the seat here. We also have the red seat belts, which is a really cool touch. And then up at the top on the headrest, we have TRD embroidered into it. Now in terms of your overall cabin materials, those are not really going to change for TRD duty. So across your upper dashboard, this will remain a soft touch plastic. Through the middle here, we have a piano black trim, as well as this kind of textured faux aluminum look, which I really like. Very cool looking. Down here in the middle, we have kind of a leatherette that runs through here with the red color contrast stitching for the TRD. And then some of your lower areas, these are going to be hard touch, but everything in here does fit together really well. Now standard on the TRD is going to be push button start. And right from the beginning, this is definitely going to remind you, this is not your typical Camry as soon as you hear that catback exhaust. Now some of your other exclusive TRD elements are going to be these gauges. As you can see, they are finished in red, just gives it a cool sporty look. And then in the middle, you have the 4.2-inch multi-function display. Now you can't get the bigger 7-inch display on the TRD, unfortunately, but this does contain all the typical information, including for your safety systems. Now coming back to the steering wheel, it is of course leather wrapped. We do have more red color contrast stitching on this as well. And the wheel itself is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. Heating is not going to be available. Now one of the best things about this TRD is that even though it is a very sporty Camry, it does not compromise the fact that it is, at the end of the day, still a Camry. So that means inside of your center console here, we have a ton of space. It's absolutely massive. It does have a nice felt lining at the bottom, as well as 2 charging USB ports. When we get our really thick stack of coupons, we don't even have to fold them to fit them in there. That's how big it is. Lots of space. Now up in front of that, we have our 2 cup holders. We also have another flat surface right through here where you can stick your phone and plug into another USB port or a 12-volt outlet. And then this actually will slide out of the way to reveal another deep storage bin to hide something out of the way. Now of course, since the TRD is, what you see is what you get on this, there's no options. You're not going to have the Qi wireless phone charging pad up there on the top. Now taking a look here at the shifter, I really love this part of it because this shifter feels really nice in the hand. This is a special TRD shifter. It is leather wrapped with the red color contrast stitching. Like I said, it really feels nice in the hand. Of course, operation's very simple. Pull back for drive, bump over here to the left if you want to do some manual shifting. And obviously you are going to have paddle shifters on board. Now when we go into reverse, you're just gonna have the basic backup camera. So on the TRD, that actually means you're not gonna have parking sensors, you're not gonna have active trajectory either. So I do wish that we had the option at least to get parking sensors and active trajectory, but like I said, this is what you see here is what you get. And then back behind the shifter, you have an automatic deploying electronic parking brake, as well as the brake hold function and your 3 different drive modes, which we'll talk about when we get into the test drive. All right, now moving on up here, we have our single zone automatic climate control setup. Very simple operation, just adjust your temperature right there, your fans on this side, and all the buttons are located physically right here. You will not get heated seats on the TRD model, and obviously you're not going to get ventilated seats either. Those are reserved for the highest end models. Alrighty, and now let's go ahead and sample the standard 6-speaker audio system. Yeah, overall sound quality is actually quite good for a 6-speaker sound system, and definitely what I expect here at the $30,000 price point. Alright, so now let's go ahead and dig into our Intune 3.0 system. Now, as you can probably tell, this is the 7-inch display, not the larger 8-inch display you get on the higher end models. Now, the software itself is still going to be Intune 3.0 and operate the same way, but the biggest con of this screen actually is that it's very dim. We found during our testing this week, it's difficult to see when the sun is shining on it directly, and especially when you're backing up using the backup camera, it's just overall a pretty dim display. Now, as far as the features on board, you do have standard Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities, but you will not have integrated navigation. Jumping up to the top here, we have a manual dimming mirror. And you will also notice at the roof, we are missing the moon roof. That's because it is not available on the TRD model. So really overall, I think the key takeaway for the TRD Camry's cabin is that basically you have an interior that's equipped the same way as an SE, but with lots of sportier touches. However, if you want the more advanced technology and more of the fancy features, you will still have to go up to the XSE.
Now, the Camry TRD's rear seat isn't going to see very many changes over a regular Camry, so it is very comfortable and spacious overall. So as far as your space, it's going to be 38 inches of both leg and headroom, the same as any other Camry, and that is on par with most of the other midsize rivals. Now, as far as your features, you're not going to have any really. You have a little storage compartment here, but you're not going to have vents or any charging USB ports. In addition to that, for this TRD model, they actually have eliminated the center armrest from the regular SE Camry. Maybe it has something to do with the bracing or whatnot, but you don't have an armrest back here. Now, walking up to the trunk to open it, all you have to do is locate the button off to the right side, and it is nicely dampened and will open pretty much all the way up. Now, once inside, you're going to find 15.1 cubic feet. This is once again not changed from any other Camry. And as far as how they finished it back here, it does have that really nice TRD floor mat on the bottom. And if we lift it up, you do have a spare tire up under the floor. Now, it is also worth noting that this TRD does not have folding seats due to that extra bracing that they've added in. Now, your passenger seat is manually adjusting on this TRD, and then if we open up the glove box is pretty small, as it is with pretty much any Camry, but we can definitely safely fit our coupons there in the back and they will not fall out. And then up top, we do have a sun visor. It has a mirror, however, you are missing the light, and then it does also detach as well as have an extension in the end. There is 60 miles per hour in the 2020 Toyota Camry TRD.
That's going to remind you this is not a normal Camry really quickly.
Yeah, so you can probably tell what engine this vehicle has in it. It's not a 4-cylinder, so this is the V6. It's going to be standard on the Camry TRD, and this is actually the cheapest way that you can get a V6 in the entire Camry lineup. So as far as your power figures, it's going to be 301 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque.
And those are exactly the same as the normal V6 model, but yeah, really good numbers for the class.
Yeah, 300 horsepower out of a midsize sedan is very healthy numbers, and as you can tell from that acceleration, this is a very quick vehicle, and it is worth noting that's about a 100 horsepower increase over the 4-cylinder option in the Camry. Yeah, this is a really, really fun Camry, I have to say. And really just adding to that fun feel of this TRD is the sound. We actually haven't driven an XSE V6, unfortunately, so we can't really compare V6 to V6, but with this TRD, you do get that special catback exhaust system, and that was one of the first things that we noticed when we took this loan on, is just, it sounds really, really good. It sounds
excellent, it really does.
Like, inside and out.
Like, it's just surprising, you know, Camry, it has no business sounding this good. That's what like a lot of people, you drive past them and stuff, and they're like, what in the world is that? You know, between the exhaust and the spoiler, and it really draws a lot of attention, like he mentioned on the outside. Surprising amount of attention. No Camry, definitely no Camry has ever gotten this type of attention before, and really no midsize sedan really gets this much attention. Now, on the subject of exhaust, I know for this Camry TRD, really the main thing people want to know is, what does TRD add, of course, but also what does TRD, you know, compromise on or make less comfortable than a normal Camry when you're choosing which trim level you want. One of those things is going to be the exhaust. Like we said, it's a really nice sounding exhaust. It sounds seriously sporty, and that's, of course, really cool for a Camry. There is a little bit of drone at highway speed though, so it's definitely worth taking into account if you do a lot of like freeway driving. It could be something that gets on your nerves. We didn't find it to be particularly loud.
It's a lot worse in the rear seat, I will say. In the front, it doesn't really bother you that much, but when it hits like a certain RPM range, so I think it's like 2,400 RPM, it has a drone, and it is quite a bit louder in the back. So if you're having kids, it may disturb, you know, some of your kids sleeping or whatever, but it really is not bad overall.
But it's your choice. You know, you choose. If you want the benefits, you gotta live with a little bit of cons. Personally, I would be fine with the trade-off.
I would agree with that. And I do also want to talk about one of the things that I just noticed on that acceleration there. So when you fully accelerate with this Camry TRD, you are going to have quite a bit of torque steer, since it is 300 horsepower going to just the front wheels. If you're really closely paying attention, you can probably see it did drift a little bit to the right. So that's kind of one of the things that we wish that this Camry TRD had, was the option of all-wheel drive. It is front-wheel drive only. Toyota does not pair all-wheel drive with the V6 at this point. It's only with the 4-cylinder. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. Hopefully Toyota will add that in the future as an option.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and grab a sound reading. We're going to be going down the highway here.
58 miles an hour.
58 miles an hour. We'll see, you know, how this compares to a regular Camry. Yeah, definitely getting a higher number here. We're bouncing around in the low 60s there. So it's definitely a higher number. That's, like I said, registering the fact that the exhaust makes more noise at all speeds, you know, but especially if you're going up a hill like we were, you're going to hear it more. So, you know, once again, like we were saying
pros
before,
and cons for
pros
that
and
exhaust.
Cons.
Now, going off of that, you may also be curious as to the ride quality for the TRD. And I can tell you, we have driven this probably 450, maybe 500 miles over the course of the week. We took it on a pretty extensive road trip. this is definitely not an uncomfortable car. It is a TRD, so it does have a little bit of a more sporty feel, but it is still a Camry at heart. And what I mean by that is it's very comfortable. It rides like any midsize sedan. All of your family is going to be very comfortable in the back, in the front. You just do have a little bit of a louder cabin for this TRD.
Yeah, and we'll get into this in a little bit. But, you know, things are definitely firmer with this. But if you're wondering if it's uncomfortable, no. It's not. It's not uncomfortable. Like I said, it feels like a firmer Camry. But even when you're on the highway, when you're going over, you know, severe bumps, there's an area near where we live that's under construction, like the road is graded. Even stuff like that is not uncomfortable in this TRD. Alright, now let's get ready to have some real fun. Let's head out for a country road.
Yep, we are on our way to the best country road in Lexington. And we didn't mention this earlier, but I do want to point out the 0 to 60 for this Camry TRD is 5.8 seconds according to Motor Trend. So this is an under 6 second 0 to 60 car.
That's right. Go ahead and go into the sport mode.
Wow.
It really, you know, the sport mode just makes the throttle response even more aggressive, keeps the engine revved up and ready to rock and roll. Also really tightens up the steering as well. Now we mentioned it earlier, but we definitely have some stiffer pieces inside of the suspension, right? So one of the things is we have dedicated TRD shock absorbers. We also have a roll bar that really increases the stiffness as well.
Yeah, so according to Toyota, it's a 44% increased stiffness and in the front and 67% in the rear due to those sway bars and coil springs. So this thing is actually really, really fun to drive on a country road. I've been driving it quite a bit. This has been a fun week for us because we've just kind of been driving it off camera and enjoying it. And if you think that Camry can't be fun, go sample this and I think you'll change your mind.
Yeah, I mean, that really is the big takeaway of this is the regular one is actually quite fun. The TNGA platform makes the Camry a really enjoyable vehicle to drive, and the enhancements that Toyota has made with this TRD, you're legitimately having fun when you get out on a back road like this. The way it corners particularly is so flat, it's just surprising.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I said, Camrys, they're sportier than they've ever been before, but it's still just so surprising when you get behind the wheel of something that's a Camry and you're like, damn, I'm really having fun here, you know, and that's actually something that you can do out here on a back road. You feel like you really have a lot of control, and the steering, it's lightweight still, a little bit on the numb side, but, you know, overall, you really still feel like you're having a good time and that you know exactly where the wheels are placed, which is what I like about it when you take it out on a back road like this. Also, the summer tires, they grip like no one's business. I mean, you cannot get them to spin. You really can't. Like, they are intensely grippy, which is another just really awesome thing about this, you know, because you, like I said, you just have tremendous control. It feels excellent.
But now it's time to talk about the airball and slam dunk for this Camry TRD. So after living with it for a week, we have a pretty good idea of what, you know, the big takeaways are. For us, the slam dunk is very clearly just going to be the performance, and I would say along with the performance, I would say the exhaust as well. Especially for this TRD, it really just completes the package. It's a really, really great setup. Right. Sounds great, looks great.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, you know, is it a real improvement over the regular Camry? The answer is yes. It is a real improvement.
And as far as the airball, what we came up with is that we just kind of dislike the fact that Toyota doesn't offer more equipment on this TRD. It's not the fact that at this price point it doesn't include more equipment. It's just the fact that it should have an option package, a premium package or something that throws in heated seats, a moonroof, blind spot monitoring. That should be offered, because I really think I see a lot of $40,000 XSEs driving around, so I really think that people would want that option, you know, for this TRD as well.
And speaking of the pricing, that's really a big thing with this TRD is, of course, like we mentioned, it's the cheapest way to get the V6. And, you know, those other options that are desirable, those, you know, jump up substantially if you have to go for an XSE, because Toyota does package a lot of them in such a way that it makes for a big price jump for an XSE V6.
So the base MSRP for a TRD is $31,170. So that makes it about equivalent to the XSE 4-cylinder in terms of price. So you're getting that V6, you're getting this awesome exterior, all the TRD benefits at that $31,000 price point, and there really aren't any options on it. So you just add the destination charge. So this one would be almost, we don't have a sticker for this one, but I would guess around $32,000 all in, which is really exceptional, especially for how many looks you get. This is really a kind of special car for $32,000.
You know, overall, I mean, I think the biggest thing to take away from this is a Camry that will really legitimately put a smile on your face, you know, and for $31,000, that's really quite an accomplishment.
Yep.
You know, this is something that's every day that's going to put a smile on your face. It's legitimately fun to drive. It's affordable. It really gets a lot of attention. I mean,
what's there not to like
really,
about this Camry is what I kind of came to take away from this week of living with it. Well, guys, that's going to finish up this in-depth review of the 2020 Toyota Camry TRD. We really appreciate you watching, and if you enjoyed this video, there's about 500 more on the channel, full reviews as well as comparisons, Tesla content, anything you want, it is on the channel. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.